Welcome to our first episode of Recipe Sunday for 2026. So to get us started for the year, the team and I thought, let's actually do a solo episode so there won't be a guest joining us today. But in February, we'll be back to our regular programming where we'll have a guest joining us on the show. So whilst doing our little strategy planning for the year, the team and I actually realized that you guys don't know me that well, which is also what's contributed to us doing a solo episode. I don't really share much about myself, so today's episode is all about getting to know me, and the meal that we'll be doing today is basically my meal prep. I'll go more into the whole meal prep story once we have started. Okay, so we'll get started on today's meal. So whilst I am preparing the meal, I'll just be telling you a bit about myself. Not even a bit, it's going to be a lot because I'm flying solo, so there's no one to go back and forth with today. So today's episode is basically just me sharing the meals that I now prepare for myself for my lunches every day when I go to work. Okay, obviously, I don't do them in the morning before work. They're done on Sunday, and then I have lunch prepared for each day of the week, for each day where I'll be going to work. So how meal prep came to be in my life personally. I was doing a lot of thinking and introspecting about my health and my well-being. Yes, I am an extremely healthy person. I'm very aware and conscious of what I put into my body, but as with all things, there's always room for improvement. So I love carrying lunch to work. Even when I was a university student, I carried lunch. So I have like a collection of lunch bags that I own because my lunch has to have its own separate bag. So everything that I eat throughout the day, I leave home with already. I don't wing it when it comes to my food once I'm already at work. There's always a plan in place. But what was happening last year is that I would pack whatever was left over from supper for my lunch the next day. Which, I mean, I still live at home with my family. So it's mom, dad, my younger sister, and myself. So there's 4 of us. So there won't be leftovers. So last year, then there'd be days where, or not even last year, in the last few years, really, there'd be days where I then don't have lunch because we finished all the food during our supper time. So I decided that, you know what, I need to actually do better with my eating. I don't want to eat takeout or foods prepared in a restaurant even 3 times a week, for instance. So I decided that a few hours on a Sunday won't kill me to prepare my lunch for the rest of the week. So I've been doing it. This is now the 3rd week I'm doing it, and the first 2 weeks have been amazing. Loved it. So I thought, let me just take you guys through my whole process with my meal prep, how I plan for it, and the execution. So let's do this. Okay, so just to take you through how I then decided what I will be doing for my meal prep, what I did is I sat down and I documented the types of foods that I'll be eating throughout the week, because I'm not about to be making stews on a Sunday that I'll eat throughout the week. So it's all going to be very quick, so I'll show you a glimpse of that. So the first thing I did was decide what grains am I going to have. So grains would basically be carbohydrates. So I don't want to be slaving in the kitchen for too long on the Sundays. I really just want something that's quick. So for today, I'll be sharing my couscous recipe with you guys. Couscous I love. Oh, specifically the whole wheat couscous, by the way. So we want whole wheat because it's nice and high in fiber. And couscous I love because it's so quick to prepare. You just soak it in boiled water and you're good to go. So that's my carbohydrates done. Remember, carbs are still important for us. And then secondly is choosing a protein. So I decided to do 2 proteins for my meal. One animal-based protein and one plant-based protein, which vary week by week. But I basically just rotate through the same thing. It will be meatballs, tuna fish, or else chicken breast. For the plant-based protein, we'll do either tofu or chickpeas. And then, of course, there will always be lots of vegetables. So I vary them week by week. So let's get going. Okay, so the first thing we'll be doing is flavoring our mince. So for today's recipe, I'll be sharing how I do my meatballs for my lunch, for my meal prep, basically. So first thing I do is choose mince that is low in fat. So I always go for either lean mince or extra lean mince. You know, we live in Eswatini. You don't always have certain things available, so I'll work with what I find in the supermarket. Okay, I control what I can control. It's an important thing to relieving some stress and anxiety. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got our mince in there. Then we've got some onion and garlic, which I put in a blender to get it nice and smooth. That goes into our mince. Okay. Next, we add some coriander to it, just for flavor. You can use whatever herb works for you, but I love coriander. So chopped up some coriander, added that to our mince. Okay. Try not to waste stuff. Like, I'm trying to scrape off everything into this bowl because I hate food wastage. I'm such an African. That's the African in me speaking. We don't like to waste food. Okay, and then what's next? Then we add 1 egg to our mince. Okay. Oh, I did that like I'm a chef, guys. Did you see that? Did you see that, Jimmy? Okay, this was about getting to know me. So yeah, it's the quirky side of me. Okay, and then we add some breadcrumbs. Okay, about half a cup of breadcrumbs. Okay. I mean, you can just make breadcrumbs using fresh bread, but this is also about being in and out of the kitchen as fast as possible, not turning into Martha Stewart. Alrighty, black pepper, of course, we need our flavor in there. I love black pepper, so I kind of go crazy with it. If you don't, adjust it according to your palate and what works best for you. Actually, my mom has said she likes my cooking, but she hates the black pepper, so it goes to tell you how much I add. And then, of course, we go in with our salt. Try not to go crazy with the salt. Okay, all right, then we'll mix in everything together. Okay, so I have said a mouthful, but I have not actually gone into any detail about me. So now we start with the get to know me bit. So get to know me bit will be disrupted by get to know the recipe as well. So, so for the viewers who don't know me, my full name is Khumbu Dlamini, but please call me Khumbu. Like, please never call me by my full name. I don't particularly like that. Some people call me Sanzi because they really like my middle name, which oddly enough I respond to, even though I've never really been referred to as Sanzi. Even in my family, I'm Khumbu, or Humbug, as some of my cousins have nicknamed me. And regarding age, I'm 34. I know I look 27 or 26, so I've been told. Anyway, I was born 18 June 91, so I'm turning 35 this year, which kind of scares me, but I'm also excited. I actually do enjoy growth. Regarding my personal life, there's not much to say there because I'm not married, nor do I have kids. So we're just this is basically all gonna be about me and my professional life. Okay. So once all your flavors are mixed in properly, you can just grab a spoon and then you'll form the meatballs. Okay. So I like to use the spoon just to make sure that I get meatballs that are of the same size, so we don't have one that's bigger than the other. I mean, that discrepancy is going to happen, human nature and stuff, but I don't want it to be an astronomical difference. Okay. So let's dive into my professional life, because I think that's really the one thing I do is work. I work a lot. So how did I become a dietitian? I think I've told the story so many times, I could probably tell it in my sleep. But yeah, I actually discovered this profession when I was in high school. So after falling sick myself and using nutrition to help heal my body, and nutrition worked so much better than medication ever did. And so when I discovered that there's actually so much power in nutrition, I thought to myself, why not pursue studies in nutrition so that I can help other people? I don't know where the desire to help people came from when I was 18, but it's always been there. Guess it's something I learned from my mother. My mother also loves to help people. Sometimes, yeah, you have to kind of reel her in a bit and say, ma'am, you're going to go naked if you don't have boundaries around how much help you give to other people. So anyway, when I was 18, now when it was time to go to university, or rather time to apply for university, I was doing all my research and I discovered that universities in South Africa actually offer dietetics. Or rather, they actually offer studies in dietetics. And from that day on, I was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. You couldn't convince me otherwise. And I fought quite hard to get into that degree. It wasn't easy because it is a health science, just by the way. So dietitians are not people who get a quick 6-month course, or we're not people who do a quick 6-month course and we get certified and we become dietitians. It's a grueling program. It's 4 years of study at an accredited university. And because no university in Eswatini offers the program, I obviously had to leave, and I did my studies at the University of Pretoria. First year came along. That degree was so much harder than I thought it would be. I thought it would be fun and we'd talk about food all day long. That was when I discovered that no, honey, this is a science. So you had to do physics and chemistry at first year level. It was quite a grueling 4 years. But also in that 4 years, that's when I then discovered my love for cooking as well. Because at the University of Pretoria, which is where I studied, I think I've already said that, we had to do culinary arts as well as part of the program, and we did it for about 3 years, and it was quite intense. We used to have our little chef's uniform, and we used to have those big toolboxes. It looked like a toolbox, but it was filled with a lot of cooking equipment, and we'd have cooking practicals every week, which was fun. I mean, I learned how to make things like creme brulee and pavlova. So now when you talk about a pavlova, I'm not like, ooh, what is that? Okay, alrighty. So we've got our meatballs rolled up. Everything is chopped and prepared and ready for the oven. Okay, this I will do a little later. So now, before I put everything on the stove, I will start with my couscous, which cooks really quickly, actually. It just takes 10 minutes and then it's done. So what we do is, I will measure out 1 cup because I'm doing quite a few lunch boxes. So when it comes to couscous, I'm very pedantic about measuring because, when I first started making couscous, I got it wrong quite a few times and I ate soggy couscous because I don't waste food. That's the African in me speaking. So we'll measure out 1 cup. So here I've got a 1/2 cup measuring cup. So we have to go in twice. Okay, so we've got 1 cup of couscous, and the general rule with cooking couscous is for every 1 cup you put for 1 cup of couscous, you do 1 cup of water. So in culinary terms, it's 1 pot couscous equals 1 pot water. But anyway, we move. So we've got our, oh wait, guys, I skipped a step, sorry. So we flavor our couscous. I'm adding some mixed herbs to it. I've never actually tried fresh herbs because, like I said, this is all about being in and out of the kitchen. Fresh herbs will cost me, 15 rand, and then they possibly will go off by the end of the week. You know, I try to make financially savvy decisions, okay, until I'm in a shopping mall. Anyway, so we've got our mixed herbs, and then we add some salt to it. Okay. Wait. I love couscous. It's the best thing ever because it's so quick. You're in and out, and then you're done. And I just like to give it a stir, and then we cover it. So we will leave the couscous to its devices, and then we'll continue with the rest of our dishes. Now we're on the stove top. So I'm going to try something with you guys today that I haven't tried on my own even, which is to do chickpeas in a pan. Okay, so I normally do my chickpeas in an oven, but the oven is out of commission for today. But I will give this a try in a pan, and let's hope I get, the result won't exactly be the same, but as long as it's still flavorful, that's all that matters to me. So here we go. There's in the camera. We've got chickpeas. So chickpeas are a legume, so same group as our normal sugar beans. They taste like jugo. Yeah, in English it's jugo beans. Very flavorful, high in fiber, high in nutrients as well, and it's also a source of protein. One of my favorite plant-based proteins. So normally I like to just roast these in an oven with some spices and a bit of black pepper and a squeeze of lemon. But like I said, my oven's out of commission today, so we'll be trying this on a stovetop. So we're experimenting together, guys. How fun is that? Okay, and then I'll just go in with a bit of olive oil. Got extra virgin olive oil over here. I'll do these in batches because I haven't done it before, to just try and avoid crowding the pan. Okay, cool. So we might be here a while. So I'll just let these sit and let the pan get warm and try and warm through our chickpeas, and then over here we'll make our meatballs. It's not that hot yet. Okay, so go in with some extra virgin olive oil. See guys, oil is not the problem. The abuse of it is the problem. And also obviously eating oils that are high in saturated fats, which can contribute to your cholesterol. Okay, so where were we in the chat, by the way? So whilst this is busy cooking, I'll continue telling you more about myself and how I made the decision to be a dietitian. Sorry, I just need to get this. I need paper towel. Alrighty. So while this cooks, we'll continue the chat about me and my career. We'll just let the heat do its thing here. Same goes for the meatballs. Okay, so whilst I let the heat do its thing there, I'll continue telling you more about my journey as a dietitian. Okay, so left for university. So fun fact, I did actually fail a module, which was organic chemistry. It was an extremely humbling experience. And again, I called my mom in tears because my mother's a single parent. So everything I am is because of her. And she, even through to university, she funded that whole, those few years I was away. So I called her in tears, apologizing profusely for failing a whole semester. And she said to me, as long as you want to continue studying, I will continue to pay. Money is not an issue you should worry about your studies, which was extremely comforting, of course. Okay, let's check on you. All right. Okay, so yeah, fun fact, I failed that module. And that was the last time I failed anything in my years of study. I put my head down and I worked. So I don't even have any interesting stories of things I did in university because all I did was study. And I had a very close friend. We're still friends even now, but she lives in East London. We would go to the library together. We'd purchase past papers together, share them, study, and we worked until we got to our final year and we completed our studies and we graduated. So I did graduate. I graduated in 2016, so I completed my studies in 2015. April 2016, we had my graduation ceremony. But at that time, I was unemployed. Okay, how are these looking? I like these to go nice and brown. Okay, let's just add some spices to flavor up our chickpeas so we don't have anything bland. So I'm using coriander. Okay, so I don't like grinding over the stove because then it clogs the steam condensers and then clogs my grinder, and nobody about to do that. So yeah, 2016 came, I graduated, came back home. I was unemployed for a year, and then eventually in January of 2017 was when I started working for the Ministry of Health. I was the dietitian placed at Mangayane Government Hospital, so I did clinical work. But even going into government, I knew I was not going to be there forever. I looked at it as a stepping stone, and I gave myself a 2-year timeline. And after 2 years, not even 2 years, no, it was 2 years and 10 months, I got another job and I worked for Nestle South Africa. So I left government and I joined the Nestle team where I worked as a sales rep. So you can almost sell ice to an Eskimo, sort of, kind of, on a good day. Okay, so where was I? I was still with Nestle, yeah. So I worked for Nestle for almost 3 years. That was such a great learning experience. I honestly am of the opinion that everyone should have that corporate experience. It's such an eye-opener as to how the real world, actually not real world, but it's an eye-opener as to how the business environment operates. And I've often said that experience really taught me that having a degree and being in business are two different things. So yes, you can have a degree that qualifies you, that says you've got a certain set of skills, but turning that into a business or into something you can actually make a living from comes from learning the business environment and understanding it. So when I was within the Nestle environment, that's when I was really exposed to the business environment. And the nice thing with Nestle is they actually wanted to teach us. So it wasn't just a matter of do your job and keep it moving. There were so many courses that we were trained in, understanding the business environment. You got to spend time with the business experts within the company to actually get an understanding of how business works. Okay, so that's our first batch done. Okay, then we go in with the second batch. Guys, it's important to do this in batches. I know that's why I prefer to do this in an oven, because I put them in the oven and I forget about them and my life moves on. Okay, we're on to our second batch of chickpeas. The first batch is done. Looks good. Still like it. But I prefer my oven baked ones, my roasted ones, more than the pan fried ones. But hey, we have to try new things in life. So yeah, at some point in time, I was starting to think that dietitians are not valued and not a priority within the healthcare space. But being at Nestle and being positioned where I was actually opened my eyes and made me realize that there is a space for dietitians. We just need the dietitians to be widely available or more available. Because like I say, in the private sector now, there's only 3 of us, whereas before there was only Rita. Rita, who I did an episode, our December episode was with her. She was the only dietitian in the private sector for years until Nosizo and I joined her. And also the pressure of being in that corporate space. Guys, it was great. I learned a lot, loved it to death, but my body was not coping. I had never been so tired and burnt out in my life like I was when I was a corporate girly. And that was when I realized I'm not a corporate girly, and that's okay. I just need to find the type of girly that I am. So I just sat down, I did my thinking. I did a bit of research as well around the clinical problems and challenges that we have within the healthcare space, where dietitians are a vital part of the healthcare team. And I made the decision to resign from Nestle, and it wasn't easy. I remember when I first told my manager that I'd like to resign, she said to me, "No, you're not resigning. You're too valuable for me and I can't let you go." So I held on, I think, for another 2 months. And I just couldn't deny myself the fact that I wanted to leave the company and be independent. So the one common thought process I have, or the one vision I have for my life, is that I want to live a life where I have more freedom. So freedom in the sense that I decide how I want my schedule to look, how I want my days to look. Of course, you have to work. There's no neglecting that side of you. But I wanted more control and more freedom over my time and my schedule and how I spend my time. So, of course, being self-employed then made sense. But yeah, I know that's also been a humbling experience in itself. So guys, quick note, you can actually do the meatballs in the oven. I honestly do prefer to try and do my meal prep in the oven as much as I possibly can, for the simple fact that I just pop them in the oven and my life can continue for that 20 to 30 minutes whilst the food is busy cooking. But yeah, I don't have an oven today, so we work with what we have, which is another important life skill to have. You need to work with what is available to you. And eventually the ideal scenario that you have in mind will come to pass. But it's important to be loyal with the little that you have in order to create room or space to be trusted with bigger and bigger things. So so then enter my therapist, who made me realize that you only get one chance to live this life thing. So if something keeps nagging at you and it's just weighing on your spirit so much, make a calculated risk, not say calculated. Yeah. I mean, it took me about a year to really prepare my finances for resigning, my thought process as well, the conversation with family, explaining to them that I know you guys raised me to get a degree and get a job, but I don't think I like having a job. That was, a tricky chat to have. But yeah, after I did my risk assessment, basically, and I prepared myself for being without that steady income, I took the leap of faith and I left Nestle, which is how KSD Dietetics was then born, and how the Swazi dietitian was then born. So I've been doing private practice. I started KSD Dietetics on November 1, 2022. So this will be our 3rd year in existence. And I always remember the promise I made to myself at 18, which was that I want to study dietetics so that I can help other people. There's so much power in nutrition and we often underestimate it, but there's so much power in the food we feed our bodies and how our bodies actually respond to it. And I know we're a society of people that generally wants to just eat, so my stomach is not bothering me, and then my life can move on. We never actually think of, if I eat this, what does it do to my body? Like, the effects may not be felt there and then, but eventually your body will feel it. There's a psychology term that says the body keeps score, basically meaning that your body will remember everything that it goes through, and you may not feel the consequences of it there and then, but eventually you will feel those consequences. Okay, I'm just checking the heat setting now. I am excited and thrilled that I did KSD Dietetics, because seeing what opportunities are available to you is crazy. So sometimes the opportunities don't come to you when no one knows you're a dietitian and no one knows what you're doing. But once you put yourself out there, then people can approach you to say, oh, we'd like to do this with you, or can you do this for our company? What wellness service can you actually offer to our organization and our staff members? And I love that. I like being able to push my own boundaries. Like I said, when I was employed, I used to see a ceiling above my head, and the ceiling was, if I lifted my head, the ceiling was right there, like the ceiling in your house. Whereas being self-employed, when I lift my head, I don't see a ceiling, I just see possibility and everything else that I can possibly do with my skills. Being self-employed has taught me that, life is what you make of it, basically. So yes, I went to the University of Pretoria. I got my qualification, I graduated, my family had a whole celebration. But then the question for me after graduating was, so now what? So now I'm just going to wake up every day, show up to this workplace. I don't get to do something different. I don't get to tap into different skills and talents that I have. And that was then something that became extremely important for me to do, to tap into the other skills and talents that I have. So with KSD Dietetics, of course, the focus for the first 12 months was building that client base, building a reputation for myself as a dietitian in the country. And of course, and also using social media as a tool to educate people. So I was always scared of social media. Generally, I think my friends, when Instagram first came around, my friends had to nag me for a good 4 weeks to get Instagram. Because I just didn't understand, why are we on social media? I used to see Twitter and I'd see people getting dragged on Twitter, and I'd think to myself, why the hell would I want to put myself in that position to get dragged like all these other people are? So I was really scared of social media. I didn't see the potential in social media at the time. And then obviously, as influencers came to be, I realized that, okay, so yes, there may be some bad components with social media, but there's also a lot of good that then comes with it. And then, so initially, I don't think there were a lot of dietitians sharing information on social media, but now there's quite a few of us. So as time went on more, and the 2000s came to be, they were really using social media to share nutrition information. So it was actually my younger colleagues who showed me that, no, we can actually use social media to share scientifically sound information on nutrition on the internet, because we know there's so much information out there, and a lot of it is misinformation. People are leading you astray. They're not sharing scientifically sound principles with you. So that was when then social media entered the chat for me. But honestly, guys, I was terrified of social media. I was scared to take pictures. I think I was generally a very shy child growing up. I do remember being more quiet in my younger years, primary and high school. I don't know where this bubbly personality came from, truly speaking. It just came about one day. But the memory I have of my childhood was that I was the shy, quiet child. So I also had to unlearn all of that as well. With social media, I also learned that, or rather a thought process that keeps me going with social media, is that control what you can. The rest, what's out of your control, you can't overthink, or it will consume you, and then you lose sight of your goal. So yeah, within social media, I always think of that. I do the best that I can, and then I put it out there, and then it performs however it performs. So meatballs are good to go. Then next we can move on to our veggies. Okay, so veggies, I'll just do them in 2 separate pans. But again, guys, veggies can actually be done in the oven as well, which is what I'd normally do. So you see, I generally try and make this a quick thing so that I'm in and out. Everything goes into the oven and I don't have to worry about it much. Okay. After I built up a client base, I did learn as well that being self-employed is quite tricky because you need to find that balance between resting so you're productive and working so that you still remain profitable. So that's been fun. But anyway, fast forward to then 2025, which is when Kanya Code was born. So when I started in private practice, I really did want to do wellness days. I felt incredibly passionate because, as I've said, I am passionate about sharing nutrition information with people across the board. So I'd always wanted to do the wellness events, but I was always so scared because the fear of failure was something that always kept me in a chokehold. Okay, let's just add the other veggies here. Thank God for having a team, right? So the rest of the team said, no, we actually need to do something bigger with it. We need to give it its own look and its own identity. It was a whole thing, a whole meeting around it, which was then how Kanya Code was born. So, okay, alrighty. So our veggies are done, and now we can plate. So we've got our veggies here. We have an assortment of vegetables. So here we go. This is what my lunch will look like for this week. We've got chickpeas, an assortment of veggies, meatballs, as well as whole wheat couscous. So packed full of fiber, micronutrients as well, and enough carbohydrates to power my workouts for the week. And then I will dress this with plain yogurt, and it's good to go. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Recipe Sunday. And I really do hope you guys will give some of these recipes a try. And if you do, please do remember to tag us. I would really love to see what you guys come up with.